This little cat that rolled its eyes while being petted was actually a forgotten goddess in disguise. Not long ago, a wealthy landlord came to the temple. The moment he walked in, he mocked the goddess. He accused her of being a poor girl sneaking food from the offerings. He even said she wasn't worthy of being a goddess. Then he demanded she grant his wish to marry into the governor's family. When she refused, he insulted her again, and without hesitation, he shoved her to the ground. In that instant, the bell that carried her divine power flew from her hands. The landlord picked it up and tossed it away like trash. The goddess broke down in despair. Before her eyes, the threads of fate began to snap one by one, and without her power, her body grew weaker and weaker. If nothing changed, she would soon disappear completely. Desperate, she followed the faint traces of her power. They led her to a small home. There, she saw an old woman holding her bell. An old man rushed out to greet her warmly, but that moment of peace was shattered by their son. It turned out the old woman was someone the old man had brought back from the mountains. Even when she denied being the person he was looking for, the old man never stopped believing. He hid her in his room every day, protecting her like a precious secret. Watching this, the goddess decided to transform into a black cat. She planned to quietly retrieve her power, but just as she reached for the bell, the old woman awoke. She saw the little black cat and gently scooped it into her arms. Noticing how the cat stared at the bell, she tied it around the cat's neck and went back to sleep. At first, the goddess thought the old man had mistaken her for someone else, but then, he lifted the old woman in his arms and sighed deeply. That's when the truth came out. The two had once been deeply in love. They had even promised forever in front of the goddess herself, but because their families opposed their love, they decided to elope. On the night of their escape, a storm struck. They lost each other in the rain, and by the time they met again, both had grown old. The girl from the past had now become this frail old woman, her memories fading away with time. One evening, the goddess noticed a red string appear on the old woman's wrist, but it was faint, the other end nowhere to be found. That night, the old woman suddenly woke from her sleep. She sat before a mirror, combing her hair and putting on makeup. Then she walked out the door. The goddess quickly woke the old man. Together, they searched everywhere, but the old woman was nowhere to be seen. Exhausted and terrified of losing her again, the old man collapsed to his knees. In that moment, a red string appeared on his wrist too. It pointed the way forward, but the goddess's power was fading fast. They lost their path once more. Meanwhile, the old woman had arrived at the place where they once promised to meet. She knelt by the wooden bridge, just like he had done years ago. Tears streamed down her face, and the red string reappeared. The goddess followed it with all her remaining strength. She guided the old man toward the bridge. At the same time, the red string lifted the old woman into the air, and there, suspended in the night sky, the two finally met again. The vow they made in their youth was finally fulfilled.